Good morning, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Sir, your screen shared, sir. Your screen is
Salma
not
madam,
shared.
yeah, it will be shared, madam. Salma madam, shall we start?
Oh, yeah, yes, sir. We can start
Uh,
now, sir.
uh, yes, yes, ma'am. Please start, madam.
Okay, sir. Good morning to all the respected speakers, distinguished participants, and dear scholars. Welcome back to day 2 of our 3-day international virtual conference on gender, power, patriarchy, re-examining Shakespeare's women in #MeToo era. As we continue our journey, it is important to remember that Shakespeare's women are not merely characters confined to text. They are voices negotiating power, identity, silence, and resistance. Let husbands know their wives have sense like them. This is actually the quote by Emilia in Othello, boldly stated like this. It is a spirit of questioning and reinterpretation that guides today's deliberations. After the insightful discussions and engaging sessions we had yesterday, we move into today's sessions with renewed curiosity and critical engagement. Now, it is my privilege to introduce our distinguished speaker or resource person, Dr. Elham Hussain, Director, Center for International Affairs, Green University of Bangladesh. Dr. Hussain is a renowned Bangladeshi scholar of African literatures and cultures, whose work is deeply rooted in anthropological, theoretical, and aesthetic approaches to literary texts. His scholarship uniquely bridges African and South Asian literary traditions through post-colonial theory and translation studies. He holds an MPhil and PhD from University of Dhaka, specializing in African literatures and cultural studies. His academic contributions are both vast and impactful. He has translated 23 books, published over 50 research articles, presented 54 conference papers, and contributed 6 book chapters. His areas of interest include post-colonial studies, African diaspora literature, Shakespearean studies, translation studies, and comparative literature, making him a truly interdisciplinary and globally engaged scholar. And today he will be delivering us a thought-provoking lecture on the algorithm as the weird sisters, hallucination and prophecy in Shakespeare's Macbeth. Sir, the session is yours. Over to you, sir. Warm welcome to you, warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you very much, madam, for your generous introduction. It's my pleasure and honor to be here with all these luminaries. Actually, the organization of 3-day-long conference on gender, power, and patriarchy, re-examining Shakespeare's women in the MeToo era. So the title of this conference is really thought-provoking and timely. So I express my heartfelt gratitude and thanks to the organizers for inviting me here to be with all the luminaries here. I also express my hearty thanks and gratitude to Dr. K. Venkat Satish sir. He is doing very amazing job, and I am really surprised and pleased that he is bringing many issues, scholarly issues, to the present day thinkers. This is really amazing. So once again, I thank you, sir, K. Venkat Satish sir. And I also express my hearty gratitude to the Department of English, SKBT Government Degree College, and PG and Research Department of English, Tirukolanjiapar Government College, Tamil Nadu, and Venkat's time. So it's really my honor to be here. And it is really difficult to say anything new about Shakespeare, because Shakespeare is not only a person, but also an institution. And a huge number of work has already been done, and every day, huge number of work is being done on Shakespeare. So it's really difficult to say something new about Shakespeare. But I have decided to work on a different area of Shakespeare. And today I like to share my work with all the luminaries, all the scholars, researchers, academics here. So at the very inception, I just like to share my PowerPoint slides with my audience. So may I know, is the PowerPoint slide visible?
Yes, sir.
Thank
It is
you.
visible,
Thank you
sir.
very much. Thank you very much, sir. My today's topic is the algorithm as the weird sisters. And the subtitle of my topic is Hallucination and Prophecy in Shakespeare's Macbeth. Shakespeare's Macbeth is one of the most prominent tragedies, prominent plays in all ages. And Shakespeare's power lies in his universality and in his wide and universal relevance. Shakespeare is still relevant in our age. And I think this is really a magnificent power, exceptional power of Shakespeare that is still in this very age of cyber technology, in this very age of digitalization, Shakespeare is equally relevant, and here lies his power. And Macbeth, which was written in 1605 and 6, is still in 2026 relevant, and we can use this text as a tool, as an apparatus to interpret our issues, our today's issues, today's situations. So Macbeth is not only a drama for the enthusiasts of theater, it is not only a text for the students, but also an instrument, a very powerful apparatus which we can use to address our issues of this digital age or the age of cyber technology. And that's why I think Shakespeare is Shakespeare. And that's why a Russian critic once said that after God, Shakespeare has created the most. So it is quite undeniable. We can't deny that Shakespeare, yes, he has really created a world which fits every age, which fits every corner of our thoughts and of our research. So in Macbeth, we find supernatural characters, 3 witches. And if we want to reflect on the background of Shakespeare's introduction of the witches or the weird sisters into his drama Macbeth, then we find that Shakespeare was really a very competent person who could feel the pulse of his time. In 1603, James I came to power after the death of Queen Elizabeth. And it is said that he was a very superstitious king. He believed in ghosts, he believed in spirits, he believed in apparitions. He also believed that old ladies with wrinkles on the faces are usually witches, and they are responsible for any kind of disaster or any kind of unexpected catastrophe in the country. So that was his belief. And he also wrote a book, Demonology. And that very book was also a manifestation of his superstitious mind. And we know that he was also a great patron of Shakespeare. He patronized Shakespeare, and Shakespeare was also appointed as in his royal court as a dramatist. So Shakespeare, while he was asked by the king that he need to write a drama to entertain a royal guest, that is the King of Denmark, Christian VI, who was to visit the king, that is the king's brother-in-law. So he was to visit the king. So Shakespeare was given the responsibility to compose a drama and stage it in honor of the royal guest. So Shakespeare, after being asked by the king, he composed this very text. And not only that, in 1605, there was a conspiration against the king, and that is called gunpowder plot. So the king's popularity for some regions was declining. So gunpowder plot, it is said by many historians that it has got some stories behind it. It may be the king's politics, or it may be a real or true historical incident that the king was in the target of some Catholics, and the some Catholics decided to blow up the king with his parliament. So there was gunpowder inside the Parliament House, but fortunately the king was saved. And after this incident in 1605, the king's popularity rose high and higher. That is, the king became very popular. And Shakespeare used that very popularity too. Another important background story behind this very text is that the king used to think himself to be a descendant of Banquo, a historical figure whom we meet in Holinshed's Chronicles of England, Scotland, and Ireland. So that was another reason that inspired Shakespeare to compose this very text, that is Macbeth. Anyway, all these situations or all these issues inspired Shakespeare to produce Macbeth. And it is said that he took several days, it may be 24 days or 25 days, he took to stage this drama in presence of the royal guests. And the story that we find in Macbeth is the story of not less than 17 years, that is from Macbeth's ascension to the throne of Scotland till his downfall or his final tragedy. So the span of time between these two incidents covers 17 years. So Shakespeare did not follow the classical unities of time, classical unities of place, and classical unity of action, even action here. Even then, he has become a unique master of theater, a unique master of tragedy, a unique master of comedy. So Shakespeare is really Shakespeare, and none can beat Shakespeare, even today in our time. And my focus is on his weird sister's character. We know that the feminists may investigate the word sisters from different perspectives. We know that during the time of Shakespeare, the women were not allowed to act or play any role on the theater, on the stage. And women were always considered to be second-class citizens. And if you go back to just the Fairy Queen, by Edmund Spenser, you will find two projections of women there. Women are either fairies or angels or devils. That is, women are not flesh and blood. That was a very common attitude towards women, traditional attitude towards women. That is, women were to be won with sugar-coated words that we find in courtly love poetry, in Petrarch, and Petrarch inspired the Elizabethan lyric poets like Edmund Spenser, even Shakespeare. So we find the reflection of the influences of that very traditional attitude towards women upon Shakespeare and his contemporaries. So women are considered to be, at that time, were considered to be second rate of citizens, and sometimes mischief makers, sometimes the tragic flaw in the character of the tragic heroes that we find also in Dr. Faustus. As soon as Dr. Faustus receives a kiss or kisses Helen, his final damnation starts. So all these incidents or all these scenes are to be explained, re-explained, reinterpreted from a feminist perspective. And I think lots of works have already been done on Shakespeare's female characters. But the most important thing about Shakespeare's female characters is that his female characters are flesh and blood, human beings. They have human emotions. They have joys. They have also sorrows. They can weep. They can also laugh. They are not artificial. That is Shakespeare's specialty, that Shakespeare's women are flesh and blood. They are human beings. That we find with also Lady Macbeth. Lady Macbeth, who is called by Hazlitt the fourth witch, but she shares some human qualities which deserve or enlist sympathy from the audience for her. So here lies, I think, Shakespeare's relevance even today, that women are at first human beings and they can do what a man can do, so they can share the opportunities where men can compete. So in an age of MeToo era, there is no chance to underestimate women's capacities or capabilities. So anyway, I have focused on a specific aspect of the word sisters in Macbeth. And this specific area is human agency. Human agency. So human agency is very important because it defines a man's individual self, a man's autonomous self. That is, autonomy is very important. And this very autonomy has differentiated or distinguished human beings from other animals. Every animal has got its specific behavioral trait. So human beings have also got some specific behavioral traits. But if the agency of human beings is hacked, or if it is snatched away by an external force, then what may happen? And what is the danger, or what is the consequential predicament after the loss of this agency? So this is my today's investigation, and how in this connection the word sisters play the role of an agent of which is threatening human agency. So the witches are not women in my discussions. The women, the witches or the weird sisters are now in my discussion is an algorithm or algorithmic system or pattern which is posing a threat to human agency. And even Shakespeare has not deliberately or very delicately composed the witches as women, because the witches put on the attires of women, but they have beard. So Shakespeare has created a kind of mystery regarding the appearance of these weird sisters. Um, so in introduction, I like to draw the attention of my audience to this presentation. And this presentation actually explores a provocative parallel, the uncanny similarities. The similarities may be uncanny, may sound uncanny, because while I was talking to my colleagues in my university regarding my topic, they were surprised. Oh, how can you compare the weird sisters with our present-day AI or present-day algorithms, present-day cyber technology or digital technologies? Then while I talked to them and interpreted my point and tried to defend my points with several regions and examples, then they told me, oh, yes, it may be an area of research, or it may be an area of looking or reading Shakespeare in a different way or from different angle. So the similarities may appear to be uncanny, similarities between large language models, that is LLMS or AI, and Shakespeare's weird sisters. And both these entities occupy liminal spaces. That is, they emerge from the in-betweenness, that is, from a gray area, a meeting point, a confluence of spaces. And why do I call it liminal space? Because it appears to be neither human nor divine. That is, divinity and humanity come close to each other, and they create a very peculiar space. So that is the liminality, and yet wielding profound influence over human decision making. So this very liminal space impacts human decision making. So this is my focus that I like to bring to the knowledge of cognition of my respected audience today. Just as the witches delivered prophecies that shaped Macbeth's fate through ambiguous utterances, modern AI systems generate outputs that increasingly guide human choices. So from policy decisions to personal beliefs, often through mechanism we cannot fully explain or understand. So how the word sisters are similar to the modern day AI or AI systems. Actually, if we focus on the point that is human agency, then I think this very point may be clear. Human agency, that is decision making, requires human agency. And if the decision making is ambivalent, or if it becomes fragile, then what would be the condition, or what would be the question of human agency? Or what may happen if human beings lose agency? Or there is always ambivalence. There is always ambivalence in AI to be or not to be, just Hamiltonian ambivalent, whether it is or whether its outputs or the decisions that it gives are okay or not, or whether the decisions or the outputs 100% okay or not. If it is 100% okay, then what may happen? And if it is 90% okay, then it is more dangerous. So these are the questions that emerge while we use or apply AI in our decision makings, or while we give data to AI and try to have outputs from AI that we find during the conversation between the word sisters and Macbeth. That is, they are making prophecies, the witches are making prophecies, and they are controlling Macbeth's decision-making capacity. And Macbeth, at a certain point, surrenders his agency to the witches, or to the weird sisters. So, after discussing all these things, my central thesis is to examine AI through the lens of Shakespearean prophecy. We uncover critical questions about agency, about interpretation, and about seductive danger of treating algorithmic outputs as inevitable truths. That is, if we consider the outputs of algorithm as inevitable truths, then what may happen? And what happened to Macbeth after he believes the prophecies of the word sisters? What happens to him? And what may happen to us if we surrender our agency to algorithms and if we believe the outputs of AI, or if we accept it as 100% or absolute truth, then what may happen? So there is always an ambivalence, that is confusion. So AI conviction and AI contradiction, that is whether it is fortifying our conviction or whether it is creating contradiction. The problem that we find with Macbeth, that is, at first he was ambivalent, but the fulfillment of one prophecy makes him confident. So there is conviction and there is also contradiction, and it is the world reality. And the mission politics is now a very important issue, and we find it worldwide, the machine politics or ambivalence. I have incorporated here some information from an article, a recent article, which was published in 2019. And I have collected this article from Day2. And I have here used some excerpts from that very article. For example, the European Union presents a paradox, simultaneously championing the world's most comprehensive AI regulations, that is EU AI Act, while racing to compete with American and Chinese technological dominance. So this tension mirrors the contradictory prophecies of the word sisters. We may align it, we may find some similarities. And regulatory ambition, EU AI Act represents unprecedented regulatory ambition, banning certain AI applications while permitting others. So we now find in this very cyber technology, age of cyber technology, that AI is used as a weapon. That is, AI is now here, weaponized. It is also used as a lethal weapon today. So AI is not only an app or application, it is not only for solving our problem or brainstorming or editing. It is now used as a tool, even lethal weapon. And how do we know it? We know it from some superpowers of the world who are treating AI in a very different way and very powerfully, politically. And AI is now also used as a military power, a very powerful weapon even in military. So yet, member states diverge sharply on implementation, creating a patchwork of conviction and compromise. So we find conviction and we also find contradiction. For example, European tech companies face the double bind of Macbeth himself. For example, Macbeth, while he hears the word sister's prophecy for the first time, he was not sure whether they were telling the truth. But as soon as, for example, while Macbeth and Banquo were coming back from the battlefield after defeating MacDonald, the Thane of Cawdor, they met three witches in a desolate heath, and the witches addressed Macbeth, the Thane of Clemis. He was already the Thane of Clemis, and then again they addressed him as the Thane of Cawdor and the king hereafter. So Macbeth was confused at first whether they were speaking the truth or not. But immediately we find two messengers came from the king, Duncan, and they addressed Macbeth as the Thane of Cawdor. Why? Because the king was so satisfied, so pleased that he awarded Macbeth with the position that the rebel Thane of Cawdor lost. So the fulfillment of this immediate prophecy makes him very much confident about the next prophecy, that is, he would be the king hereafter. So there is confusion and there is also conviction. And we can borrow this very text to interpret the present day attitudes of especially superpower towards AI. And that's why I have incorporated this information here that European tech companies face the double bind of Macbeth himself, pursue innovations aggressively, or fall behind cleverly, yet risk regulatory punishment for moving too fast. So we find confidence, and at the same time, we find confusion. And the prophecy of AI supremacy beacons while ethics constrain. So two poles we find fall apart. One is probability or the success, and the other is constraint, ethical constraint. That is, while using AI as a weapon, or while the superpower is weaponizing AI, then what about the ethical stance? What should be the ethical stance? So it is a realm of confusion and at the same time conviction. AI's immense power or capacity to handle quintillions of data, processing data, and giving outputs, this immense power of AI makes the world confident regarding their position. And at the same time, while we think of the ethical stance or ethical constraints, then it creates a kind of confusion. So AI is also a paradox. And not only that, how does Europe balance between these two? It's a very common question that emerges. So how does Europe balance democratic values with technological competitiveness? The Weird Sisters offered Macbeth a future he could not resist pursuing. So in connection with this information, a question visits our mind. Does AI present the same irresistible temptation to the global policymakers? So just think the way the word sisters captivate Macbeth's decision-making capacity. So in the same situation and in the same environment, while the word sisters have been replaced by AI, then what would be the stance of the policymakers, global policymakers? So it's a very major question. And this question visits our mind when we find that AI is being weaponized as Macbeth weaponized the prophecies of the weird sisters by surrendering his agency to them. So, in such a very confusing situation, we find that AI can be similar to the word sisters in different ways. For example, if we interpret the behavior of the word sisters, then we can find some alignments with the present day AI. In present day AI, or how AI works, if we think very deeply, then we find their data aggression. Data aggression we find in AI, then pattern recognition and non-human logic. So these three are some of the ingredients that we find in the process in which AI functions. That is data aggression, pattern recognition, and non-human logic. Now let's align these three aspects with different activities of the weird sisters. For example, they harvest the fog and fill the air. We find that even in the first, or at the outset of Macbeth, that is in the first scene of Macbeth, we find the witches in a desolate place. That is, the day is stormy and foggy, filthy, and they say fair is foul, foul is fair. So they harvest the fog and fill the air. This is called unstructured data. So in this way, we can interpret unstructured data with this very analogy, the analogy of the weird sisters regarding their activities in foggy and filthy environment. We can use this analogy to interpret unstructured data. And then pattern recognition process. For example, the word sisters see the seeds of time. Macbeth was also surprised. While the prophecies of the word sisters came true, he was surprised. And even Banquo was also surprised. And they were surprised they wondered how these word sisters could read the seed of time. That is, Banquo would not be the king, but he would be the father of many kings. So that was a future incident. But the word sisters could tell Banquo about his future. And Macbeth is not yet king when he meets the witches for the first time in a desolate heath while coming back from the battlefield. But the word sisters prophesied that he would be the king hereafter. And that very prophecy came true. So they could read the seeds of time and predict what grain will grow. And if you ask modern day AI how it would look after 50 years, for example, if you provide some data, your data, and if you ask AI how it would look after 50 years or 70 years, it would construct your image. But that very image may not be exactly what it will be after 70, but it constructs. It does not say that I can't read the seed of time. It reads the seed of time, but there may not be 100% truth. And here lies the danger of AI. I have told you at the very inception of my deliberation that if the truth is 90% right, if there is 90% truth, then it is quite dangerous because the 10% lies may bring about confusion, death, and disaster. And then another important ingredient in the process AI in which AI works is the non-human logic. So, what analogy can we borrow from the word sisters to support this? For example, they exist outside the human moral framework, operating on probabilities, outcomes, rather than truth. So they comment on the probabilities. If we go back to Hazlitt, there we find that Hazlitt has said that the witches, or the word sisters, are not external agents. They are the subconscious mind of Macbeth. So in subconscious mind, we have many plans, but we are not always conscious of those plans. But if we assess those plans which are lying in our subconscious mind, then we can structure a pathway to the future destination. It may not be 100% true, but it may encapsulate some truths because it is based on the data stored in our subconscious. And as I have told about subconscious, I like to focus on the neural conditions of human biology. For example, nature itself operates through algorithmic process from DNA, that is deoxyribonucleic acid replication, to natural firing patterns of biological systems, compute and predict. That is, the biological systems contain some stores of data, and by accessing those stores of data, human biology can predict what consequences it is going to encounter. Just as the White Sisters channel mysterious forces to divine the future, so our own biological machinery processes information through evolved computational frameworks that mirror modern AI architectures. So thus we can use the analogy from word sisters to interpret or to dig deeper or delve deeper into the modern AI architectures. So in this way, we find some parallels. And we also find natural computation. Natural computation, which works from within, that is biologically. Evolutionary algorithms demonstrate how natural selection optimizes solutions through interactive computation. And neural neural networks in our brains process sensory data much like artificial systems. So the pattern recognition emerging from biological network. So data is stored inside our DNA. So after processing this data, subconscious mind can give some outputs. And these outputs may not be 100% right, but these outputs may tell us about our probable consequences or destination. So in this connection, the parallel between the word sisters, how the word sisters work in Macbeth's mind, in Macbeth's decision-making activities. So that this parallel between the word sister's role in Macbeth's decision-making activities and the modern day AI, very striking. These parallels are very striking. Both biological and artificial systems operate through mechanisms that you just cannot fully explain. And Shakespeare's word sisters embody this inscrutability. That is, human biology, human unconscious is quite inscrutable. And AI is also quite unpredictable. Or whatever it predicts may not be 100% right, or maybe 90% right. So if it is 90% right, then what may happen? And if it is 100% right, then what should be the agency of human beings? Or what should be the role of human beings in decision-making activities? If all the decision-making prophecies, or if all the prophecies of AI are true, 100% true, then what would be the role of human agency? Human agency must be questioned. So in this way, we find some areas in which the word sisters may be a very powerful apparatus to interpret our modern day AI or algorithms. As I have already said, that there is always confusion, there is always paradox, because to be or not to be, the Hamletian problem is also available in the role of AI or in our relationship with AI. And this very problem, or this very inscrutability, can be termed as black box or black box problem. So the black box nature of AI systems mirrors the inscrutability of the word sisters prophecies. For example, while Macbeth went to meet the witches in a cave, dark cavern, that is after getting Banquo assassinated by some hired murderers. So Macbeth found that Banquo's son, Flames, has fled away. And even Duncan's two sons, Donalbain and Malcolm, have fled away. They fled away to different countries.
Hello.
Malcolm has gone to
Hello.
England and Donalbain to Ireland. So Macbeth was quite insecure. He was feeling unsafe regarding the prophecy of the word sisters. That is, he is now the king of Scotland, but he does not know whether his throne is safe, 100% safe or not. So just think of the confusion which is created by the prophecies also. That is, he would be the king So Macbeth is now the king, but he is not sure whether his kingship would continue or sustain for a long time or not, or whether he would be safe or not, because his enemies' sons, that is Banquo's son Fleance, then King Duncan's sons, Donalbain and Malcolm, have fled to different countries. So he was not sure whether his path was truly safe or not. So he was confused. So in such a very uh, predicament, Macbeth went to meet the word sisters in a cave. And in the cave, the word sisters were boiling or brew in a huge cauldron. And different dirty things were there. They were boiling to make their food. So the cauldron, with diverse dirty uh, elements or things, represents the modern day black box problem of AI. And that was also the problem of Macbeth. Though he received the prophecy that he would be the king and he became the king, he was not sure, he was not feeling comfortable. He was still anxious. So the prophecy is fulfilled, but at the same time, the prophecy has created unease in him. So he went to meet the witches, and there the word sisters prophesied or gave him instructions, not directly, but in a roundabout way. Roundabout way. That is, Macbeth would not be would be invincible. No woman born would be able to kill him. So just think, the word sisters speak through riddles. They create puzzles. They do not give direct answer. They speak metaphorically. And that is the inscrutability. Macbeth thought that everybody is born out of human womb, that is mother's womb. So he was immortal, or he would not be killed by anybody. That was his apprehension. That was his assumption, that he would not be killed by any human being. So he could not understand the paradox of the language of the word sisters. So in this way, we cannot fully interpret how deep learning algorithms arrive at their conclusions. So this very analogy we can use to interpret our present day algorithms' ultimate decision. That is what would be the conclusion. Whether we are heading towards a happy, peaceful world or not, whether AI is being used for human benefits or human destruction. If AI takes up the role of a lethal weapon, then what may happen to humanity or human beings? And if AI is used to diagnose diseases and prescribe medicines or to save humanity, then what would be the picture of the world? So we are always in betweenness, that is liminal space, in between space, as Macbeth was in betweenness, whether he would not be killed by anybody, even if he is a mortal being. So the confusion always chases him till the end of his life, and ultimately, while Macduff simplifies or unlocks the puzzle of the word sisters, that he was not woman born because he was untimely raped out of the womb of his mother, that is, he was a Caesarean baby. It was only then Macbeth could understand those juggling sisters, that is, those weird sisters. So just think how they are creating puzzle, and similarly, the algorithms are also creating puzzles. So we have to handle algorithms or algorithmic process with care. That is, we should have human agency while handling AI. That's important. Otherwise, the opacity in AI decision making may create profound problem of trust and problem of accountability. This is very important. And in this connection, some challenges emerge. That is, while we are submerged in the questions of trust and accountability, some challenges also cross our mind, visit our mind, especially neural networks process information through millions of parameters in ways that remain opaque even to their creators. Suppose human unconscious is structured like language, as it is said by the post-structuralists believe it, that human unconscious is structured like language. And language is quite arbitrary. The meanings are arbitrary. The meanings that we celebrate today may not be celebrated by the future generation. The meanings may be totally different, or the meanings that carry our expressions today very successfully may not be sufficient to the future generations. So there is always a challenge of using meaning or encapsulating meaning in our day-to-day expressions. Otherwise, it may create anarchy of meanings, or a kind of paradox that may create anarchy, or that may create a kind of uneasiness. And that very uneasiness may be compared to the cauldron of the word sisters. That is, they are brewing something. What is that something? We do not know. It's a mysterious food with some dirty things. Suppose the fangs of venomous snakes, or the intestines of a newborn baby, or a pig's head. So all these dirty things are there and boiling together. So it is a heterogeneous combination, and it is really difficult to split up one from other. It's a very great challenge. Similarly, we find diverse data, trillions of data. We are living in the world of data. We are floating on data. Which data is beneficial for us and which is not for us? So it's a great challenge for us to split up, or to differentiate good one from bad one, or bad one from good one, and apply good ones for the betterment of humanity. It's a great challenge. And another important thing that we have to maintain in this very age of AI, that is AI hallucination. It is to be treated very sagaciously and dexterously, because we know that we are living in our post-human condition, and the definition of human beings is always melting down. What does a man truly mean? What does a human being truly mean? It's a very common question, a very pressing question. We are in a post-human world. And everything is constructed here. Even truths are constructed in this very age of algorithms. Even truths, the things or the incidents or the issues, what we identify as truths, are also constructions of data. We find permutation combinations of data there. And it is also said that we are in a world which is a post world. We are living in a time which is a post time. We are living in a situation which is post situation. We are living with the truths which are post truths. So we are living in a post human world. In post human condition, when machines fabricate reality. So machines are now fabricating, constructing reality. And they engage in what researchers term confabulation. That is the generation of plausible but entirely false information presented with unwavering confidence. So it's a world where we find that sometimes some latent, some blatant lies are celebrated. Why? It is because of uh, the construction. The construction, the way it is constructed, is ambiguous and it confuses the listeners. And the listeners look upon it to be the right one or to be the truth. So they celebrate it. But after a few days, after a few months, after a few years, we find that, oh, that was not true, actually. So actually, we are living in a world where we find that the manufacture of truths or manufacture of realities are usually done by the machines, by large language models, or by algorithms. So AI hallucination, this is called AI hallucination, which can hallucinate and misguide. So it's a great challenge for the people, modern day people, to fight back or to address this very issue very uh, effectively. Macbeth could not handle, he could not handle the puzzles or the prophecies of the witches, and that's why he was thrown into his catastrophe. So large language models, that is AI, it blurs the boundary between truth and fiction. That is the truths that I have already said, that the truths are constructed in such a way that you may think that it is true, you may think that it's okay. That is, it is really difficult to differentiate falsehood from the truth or differentiate the malicious data from benevolent data. So it's a difficult job. And this job is made difficult by large language models, that is, algorithms. And we can interpret this with the analogy from the word sisters, who blur prophecy and manipulation. As Macbeth was told that no woman born would be able to kill him, and he believed it that he would be quite invincible. He forgets that he is a mortal being. He forgets that he has some dire enemies who may kill him. And killing was at that time a part of tradition. That is, killing a king, a man becomes king. Macbeth also kills his king and he becomes king. So he forgets that very cruel truth. So how he becomes forgetful about the truth. And that very forgetfulness accelerates his tragedy. So I think hallucination is which is created by AI or modern day algorithms, is also to be uh, addressed very consciously. Otherwise, it may lead this generation, that is, it may lead us to troubles. And I like to give some more interpretations. After hearing all these things, that is the witches or the word sisters, how they are similar to the algorithms or large language models. So after hearing all these things, we may think that we are now living in an age of digital supernaturalism. If the word sisters were supernatural creatures, then can we call AI supernatural? Not in the sense that the word sisters were supernatural, and not in the sense that we find supernatural machineries in different texts. For example, The Rape of the Lock by Alexander Pope, or The Spirit, Polar Spirit in S.T. Coleridge's The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. So in this way, AI is not supernatural in the sense those agents are that I have just mentioned. But we may be curious after hearing all these analogies or all these similarities between algorithms and the prophecies, jargons, and twisted languages of the word sisters, then we may question, just out of curiosity, then are we in an age of digital supernaturalism? A supernatural age? Is it a digital supernatural age? The answer to this question uh, is not to be given in a single word. That is, with a single word yes or in a single word no. It's also a paradox. It requires a lot of interpretations, a lot of observations, a lot of thinking. The word sisters function as proto-algorithmic systems. I think if we can connect these proto-algorithmic systems to our present conditions, then I think the answer to that question may be partially given, not 100% or not fully. So what is proto-algorithmic system? Proto means the initial stage. For example, proto-colonialism. Proto-colonialism means the period before colonial period in which we find some British merchants came to our Indian subcontinent. They came here with Christianity, and they took some of our people to their countries. They converted them into Christians. They taught them English language. They made them put on their dress. And again, they came back with those gentlemen to our Indian subcontinent. And after looking at them, our local people thought that, oh, the English were doing very noble job because they were making our people gentlemen. So while our people speak English fluently like the English, then our local people feel tempted. They feel, oh, then we have to learn their English because their language is the language of power. Their language is the language of civilization. That was the message that they carried to the local people of this subcontinent. And ultimately, we build up or we made our mindset that, okay, these outsiders were good for us. They were not harmful for us. So in this way, before colonial era, colonial mindset was constructed through different attempts of the colonizers. At that very stage, they did not start colonial enterprise directly. They just created the environment of colonialism. That is called proto-colonial period or proto-colonial system or situation. So similarly, the way algorithms work today, algorithm works today through paradox. It works today through confusions and convictions. You will find all these things with the weird sisters of Shakespeare. And that's why I have called them proto-algorithmic system. And for processing inputs and generating productive outputs that shape Macbeth's trajectory, the way they worked for creating Macbeth's minds or Macbeth's destination. We find it today the way we are using algorithms. We are using ChatGPT, we are using chatbot, we are using Google Gemini, are also
gentle reminder to you.
creating us, are also generating the same
Gentle reminder
situations
for the
that we
section.
find with the weird sisters they created for Macbeth. So algorithmic prophecy mechanisms are like
Okay.
modern predictive algorithms, and the witches' prophecy
Okay.
operate through pattern
Okay.
recognition and probability assessment. Their predictions about Macbeth becoming king function similarly to how AI systems analyze data to forecast outcomes, but create self-fulfilling feedback loops where the prediction itself becomes a causal factor. And the manipulation inherent in prophecy mirrors algorithmic influence. This is proto-algorithmic system. That is the manipulation inherent in prophecy of the word sisters mirrors algorithmic influence. By presenting selective futures, the sisters guide behavior toward predetermined outcomes. And this parallels how recommendation algorithms shape human choices by presenting curated possibilities, curated, sanitized possibilities, raising questions about agency and determinism in both supernatural and technological prediction systems. So supernatural environment is actually created out of mystery. That is, while we fail to explain a thing scientifically, we call it supernatural. So the vagueness or the mystery or the opaque data system create an environment of mystery or environment of supernaturalism that we find with the word sister. So that is the reason for which I have aligned the modern day algorithms with the word sisters in terms of proto-algorithmic systems. So now, while we are using all these things, that is algorithms, how, like Macbeth, we encounter the ambiguities or ethical issues. So in answer to this question, I just like to mention the first point, moral uncertainty. Both Macbeth and AI systems operate in morally ambiguous territories. The word sisters neither command nor forbid. So just ambiguity, just think of the ambiguity of algorithms. It will not command you to do. It will neither restrict you to do. And I think here lies the role of agency. Whether we will do it or not, whether we will feel motivated by the data processed by AI or not, that is up to the user. How you handle is more important than what you handle. So similarly, AI algorithms present outputs without moral judgment, leaving ethical interpretation to human actors who must navigate uncertain terrain. So Macbeth was also left in confusion. In the desolate heath, while he was coming back from the battlefield along with Banquo, and he met the White Sisters in a desolate heath. They just addressed him. Hail Macbeth, hail to thee, the Thane of Clemis. Hail Macbeth, hail to thee, the Thane of Cutter. Hail Macbeth, hail to thee, the king hereafter. And after a few moments, they also made some prophecies for Banquo, and suddenly they vanished. So they were not found there. So how they create mystery? They do not give very clear instructions to the agents. The decision is up to the agents, the actors, not to the White Sisters. And here lies also the question of agency. While you say that, yes, I am the decision maker, then you exercise your agency. So who bears responsibility when prophecy becomes action? Agency. Suppose you are driving a car and unfortunately you meet an accident, or suppose you run over a person. So you are to be blamed, you are to be tried because you are the agency. But if your place is taken by an AI, and if it meets this accident, then how will you try, or how will you punish this AI? The same thing happens with Macbeth. At the end, while Macduff tells him that he is not woman born and he will kill him, then Macbeth understands that he could not understand the puzzle of the word sisters. And that's why he underwent the punishment. That is, he had to uh, tolerate the consequence. He had to receive the consequence. He received the consequence. This is agency. And it's also responsibility. That is, if a person can exercise his agency, if a person is guided by his ethics, then he is to be responsible for whatever he does. If he does good, he is to be rewarded. If he does evil or bad, he will be punished. So modern AI ethics actually faces parallel questions. When an algorithm's recommendation leads to harm, is the fault in the code, the data, the developer, or the user? So you may say that AI asks me to do it, so I have done it. So after doing it, who is to be punished? The developer of AI? Or AI, the person who handles AI? Or the company which provides you AI service? No, you are the agency. And that's why Schopenhauer believes that character is fate. That is, you cannot blame that AI has instigated me to do it, so I have done it. Macbeth cannot blame the word sisters. He can never say that they instigated me and I killed the King Duncan. Why? Because he handles his own agency. It is his responsibility. So I am towards the end of my deliberation. I will wrap up very soon. And I am really sorry for telling upon your passions, but I will take only a few minutes, and within a few minutes, I will wrap up. Now, what happens after seeing Macbeth's catastrophe? Macbeth fights, but he succumbs to his tragedy. That is, while he was standing face to face with Macduff, while he found that his enemies were approaching to his palace, or the Burnham Wood was approaching to the Dunsinane, he did not lose heart. He said, "They have tied me with a stake, but bear-like, I cannot fly, but bear-like, I must fight the course." So Macbeth is very brave. He's really a hero. He's a hero. A hero never dies. A hero is destroyed. He fights and fights and fights, and ultimately he is destroyed. But he never dies. A coward usually dies. And Shakespeare has also said cowards die many times before their death. So anyway, this Macbeth's ultimate end, who makes his tragedy, to him, what was his ultimate perception about life? He says that life is but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and presses hours upon the stage and is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. So a kind of absurd world we find here. That is the world of an existentialist, Sartrean world, a world of Sartre, a world of Nietzsche we find at the end of this tragedy while we listen to Macbeth. Now, do we want such world? Do we want such world of deaths and destruction? Of course not. We want a world where everybody must be happy, where everybody feel that his or her life is valuable, where everybody will feel secured. So we want the world like this. And for that reason, we must not lose our critical thinking, because human beings claim superiority upon all other creatures because of their intellectual capacity, unique intellectual capacity. And this very intellectual capacity is exhibited through critical thinking. And if there is no critical thinking, there will be no justice. There will only be anarchy, confusion, and indiscipline. So if we want to have our world, our peaceful world, if we want to ensure peace and stability for everybody on this planet, then should we depend on these algorithms as Macbeth depended on the prophecies of the Weird Sisters blindly, even surrendering his agency, or even not thinking critically about the prophecies or the puzzles of the Weird Sisters? So I think all these questions are very natural, very usual questions. And I think the answers to these questions are given to some extent here. For example, like Macbeth surrendering his judgment to the Weird Sisters' prophecies, modern society increasingly differs to algorithmic guidance, accepting AI outputs without questioning their validity or underlying assumptions. So should we do it? That without questioning, we will accept all the outputs of AI? So it's a big question. And I think the answer to this question is lying in Macbeth, Shakespeare's Macbeth. Or over-reliance on AI recommendations erodes human analytical capacity. As Macbeth ceased to question the witch's words, users increasingly accept algorithm outputs as true by passing independent reasoning and verification. So should we banish our sagacity, or should we sacrifice our ability to judge our things? I think the answer to this question is also lying in Shakespeare's Macbeth. Or even regarding intellectual atrophy, when algorithms make decisions for us, critical thinking skills deteriorate through disuse. The prophecy becomes self-fulfilling. Dependency breeds incapacity, mirroring Macbeth's tragic surrender of autonomous moral reasoning. So, should we sacrifice our autonomous moral reasoning? The answer to this question is also lying in Macbeth. If we do not receive this lesson, then there may be the rise of totalitarianism. And totalitarianism, that is absolute control over AI. And this control will go to some big hands or big guns of the society only, and they will impose all their directives, all their commands upon the rest of the world. So there may emerge a totalitarian society, which will tell upon, very badly tell upon, democracy or democratic environment. As we find no democracy in Macbeth, he did never talk to his counselors. We do not find him talking to his counselors. We do not find him taking or receiving counsels from even his wife, that is after the killing of Duncan or assassination of Duncan. He did not even interact with his wife for future course of actions. So why? Because he thought that he was, that is, he was obsessed or he was controlled by the prophecies of the word sisters. So the absolute command upon AI or algorithms or prophecies is giving rise to totalitarianism, and which tells upon democratic environment. And in such a very environment, we find the surveillance of capitalist surveillance becomes more rigorous and more intolerable, like the witches who watched and waited for Macbeth. Algorithm systems conduct perpetual surveillance, harvesting behavioral traits to predict and influence human choices. For example, you go to a super shop or shopping mall, and the salespersons come to you and address you as sir, as madam, please come, welcome, so and so. But you must not think that you are out of suspicion. CCTV cameras are always watching you. So they are asking you, they are addressing you with some sweet words. But remember, they do not believe you. And that's why CCTV cameras are always watching you. So this is the panopticism that we find in Foucault. So hello, sir. Okay, sir. Yes, I will take only 1 minute, sir. Thank you. So I think I am towards the end of my deliberation, and actually, Macbeth is very relevant today. I am just giving some concluding remarks. Macbeth is relevant today because we can use this analogy, Macbeth, to interpret our present day situations. And here lies the power of this text. And here lies the universality of Shakespeare. So Shakespeare was very relevant in his time, and Shakespeare was relevant in the last 4 or 5 centuries. And I believe Shakespeare will also remain relevant in the time ahead. So thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any queries, my dear participants?
I'm really sorry I take a lot of time and I tell upon the passions of my respected audience.
Sir, really, we are very grateful to you, sir. Such a complex topic, and you have mentioned it in a very simple way, sir. Thank you so much.
Madam. So kind of you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good afternoon.
You
Good
told
afternoon.
about AI hallucination and algorithms and Macbeth and prophecy. You told very well, sir. You give more information about that, sir. Thank you, sir, for giving this wonderful opportunity, and it's a God's
Thank you.
blessing to listen your class today, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, madam. Asri, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay madam.
Thank you, Dr. Ilham Hussain, sir, for the
Thank you, sir.
insightful session exploring how algorithmic bias or AI hallucinations mirror the seductive, misleading prophecies of the weird sisters in Macbeth. I have one small question for you. How do these algorithm is the new weird sister who or what in our modern digital landscape plays the role of Banco?
Yes. Thank you, sir. Very important question. Yes, Banco is very critical to the prophecies of the word sisters, because he warns also Macbeth that these word sisters should not be believed blindly. So I think our generations, our young generations, would take up this responsibility. They would cherish a critical mind, because I think this algorithmic technology is very, very popular among our young generation, young people. So I think they are very good people. They love their country, they love themselves, they love the whole world. So they will take up this responsibility, and they would play the role of Banco to be self-critical and to be critical to the role of modern algorithms. And then I think algorithms would be beneficial for us. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir.
Sir,
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
I'm
Carry on,
Dr. C.V.
Ravinder, sir.
Ravindranath from Dr. V.S. Krishna Government Degree College, Visakhapatnam. So your session is really fantabulous, sir. Very innovative topic. and which is dealt in an insightful manner. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Doubt, sir.
Our
What
friend,
is
Uma madam.
sisters?
Vijaya madam.
Agency and word sisters in Macbeth. What is that one? Agency, that agency.
Okay, madam. Thank you. Thank you very much for your question. Yes, agency, it is your decision-making capacity. Actually, if you exercise your decision-making capacity, or if you use your autonomy, that is the agency, and that very agency can only make this technology beneficial for us. If we surrender this agency, then it may lead us to troubles. But I think our autonomy, that is our self-critical mind, is very essential to fight back the apprehension of heading towards troubles and confusion. So human beings should have the agency. If you offer a banana to a chimpanzee and ask it to behave like you or to believe what you believe, I think it will not do it. A chimpanzee will behave like a chimpanzee. He will not imitate your belief, your behavior. This is its agency. And human beings should behave like human beings because they have decision-making capacity that must not be surrendered to AI or algorithms. And as long as we can take care of our agency or critical mind, I think we can use technologies for the benefit of humanity, for the benefit of our people, of our nation. So it's very essential. We must use, or we must welcome every technology, but not uncritically. Critically. This is important. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir, for giving this wonderful explanation. And
Uma madam. Ma'am
Yes, madam.
actually would like to give thank notes, sir. Please allow her to do that.
Okay, ma'am. Good morning, sir.
Good
My
morning.
name is N. Uma Subramanyeswari from SKVT GDC Rajamahendravaram, sir. Sir, I express my heartful and gratitude for this insightful and intellectually enriching presentation on timeless beauty of Shakespeare, sir. The topic was presented with remarkable clarity and depth, beautifully illustrating how Shakespeare's works continue to resonate across generations. The way the session connected classical literature with modern perceptions, especially in terms of psychology, language, and global relevance, made the decisions both engaging and meaningful. It was particularly impressive how the presentation justified the title by demonstrating the Shakespeare's beauty lies not just in his poetic language, but in his profound understanding of humanity. Thank you for delivering such thought-provoking and inspiring sessions, sir. It has truly deepened our appreciation of Shakespeare's enduring legacy. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your insightful and valuable suggestions and your valuable information about Shakespeare's great works. Thank you on behalf of our organizers of the conference also. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. And once again, I express my heartfelt thanks and gratitude.
Thank
So
you so
have a
much.
very nice time, very nice day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We now move on to the next engaging session of the conference. It is my privilege to introduce our esteemed speaker, Dr. E. Ram Bhaskar Raj Garu, Associate Professor of English at Kakatiya Government College, Hanmakonda, and which is a NAC A+ accredited institution. Dr. Raju is a highly accomplished academician with over 35 years of rich teaching experience, whose contribution span teaching, research, curriculum design, media, and academic leadership. He holds multiple qualifications, including PhD, MPhil, MED, and MA, reflecting his strong academic foundation. He is internationally certified, including TESOL, and which is related to USA based trainer of trainers, and a Harvard University certified professional in teaching English language and literature, which highlights his global academic engagement. Dr. Raju has played significant roles at national and international levels. He has served as panel member in English for NTA, UGC, MHRD, and TS-SET, and has been actively involved in academic policy making and curriculum development across universities and government bodies. His association with reputed institutions includes his role as a consulting editor and content developer with Cambridge University Press, and editorial positions in several national and international journals. He is also widely recognized as a columnist, media presenter, scriptwriter, and academic broadcaster, and contributing to platforms like Enadu, All India Radio, Doordarshan, and TSAT. A prolific scholar, Dr. Raju has published extensively, presented papers at numerous conferences, delivered keynote and plenary talks, and authored as well as edited significant academic works. His contributions also include textbook writings, translation projects, and translation projects and training programs across educational and corporate sectors. His dedication to education has earned him several prestigious recognitions, including the State Best Teacher Award and Lifetime Achievement Award, among many others. He will now be delivering his lecture on the timeless beauty of Shakespeare. Sir, warm welcome to you, sir. And the session is now yours, sir.
Madam, thank you so much for the generous appreciation accrued on my career profile. Esteemed Professor Venkat Satish, Department of English, SKVT GDC Rajamahendravaram, Department of English, Kolanjiapur GDC Tamil Nadu, my friend Dr. C.S. Ravindranath, and many other members who are found on this particular international conference for a session called The Timeless Beauty of Shakespeare. In fact, I profusely thank Professor Venkat for bestowing me with an opportunity to interact with you all this morning in the context of this 3-day international conference. Ever since my postgraduate studies days, my professors attracted me to be alert to the studies on Shakespeare right from 1991, which actually has found me interested in the way to study life and works of William Shakespeare in Harvard University, America. Coming to the point, because it has already been 11:50, and I have a lot to share with you all, because this is a platform which is not of student community. There is a wide range of array pregnant with a lot of experienced faculty on the platform. Quite in the beginning, I would like to declare that I have no enemies in my life, and all enemies of Shakespeare are my enemies. And with this word, I would like to make an extempore presentation on the topic, the timeless beauty of Shakespeare. And it is not my habit to make use of PowerPoint, because which curtails and curtains the limit of imagination and the nuances of interpretation when speaking on a topic called the timeless beauty of Shakespeare in particular. It is a remarkably rich topic that offers multiple angles. Dear friends, let us really explore the universality and enduring relevance of Shakespeare's works across cultures and societies over the globe. Shakespeare's universality is a complex and multifaceted phenomenon that can be attributed to several factors. Shakespeare's works continue to be relevant and influential even in the 21st century due to his ability to depict universal human experiences in a way that is both timeless and culturally relevant. The relevance of Shakespearean explanation and Shakespeare's exploration of human experience is particularly evident in contemporary discussions of mental health, spirituality, and philosophy. People often say history repeats, and we are dwelling in times when mental health, spirituality, and philosophy have really come back. Shakespeare's works are not limited to any particular genre or style. You know very well that he has written comedies, tragedies, histories, and poetry, and each of which discovers the complexities of human experience. The topics he covers are wide-ranging and include love, power, ambition, revenge, jealousy, and family relationships, and so forth. One of the PG students asked me this very academic year that as to why we should study Shakespeare, sir, as a separate paper in our MA English syllabus. Then my answer was the only short sentence which speaks volumes, that Shakespeare's works centered on human nature. Although he belongs to Queen Elizabeth's time 400 years ago, he wrote on human nature basically. And as human nature has not yet been changed to as to what it should be, which is the reason why we should study Shakespeare even now. Among 212 universities across the world, Shakespeare's works are taken as a special paper, and there is every reason to study Shakespeare in postgraduate studies beyond QAM. Firstly, sir, could you please introduce yourself? Organizers?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. We can also mute them from our side. Let all participants' mics may please be muted, madam. Then when a discussion time comes, we can open them up. Firstly, his characters are complex and multidimensional, with flaws and virtues that make them relatable and believable. This is evident in plays such as Hamlet, in which the titular character is torn between his desire for revenge and for his moral convictions. And similarly in Macbeth, the eponymous character is driven to madness and destruction by his ambition. Similarly, Cleopatra from Antony and Cleopatra is another female character whose portrayal as a powerful, seductive, and manipulative queen has made her a universally recognized character. So her complex personality, with its combination of strength and vulnerability, has made her a symbol of female empowerment and liberation. A scholar by name Lisa Hopkins comments, Cleopatra represents a universal truth about women and one which has not changed since Shakespeare's time. That is, that women who are strong, clever, and independent can still be vulnerable. Please examine. Furthermore, Shakespeare's themes and ideas are universal and enduring, speaking to audiences across time and space. Love, jealousy, ambition, and the human condition are just a few of the recurrent themes that run throughout his works, like Romeo and Juliet, Othello, and King Lear. There is a critic by name Chris Power who speaks, Shakespearean theatre has always been enlivened by the presence of women, and feminist criticism has played a crucial role in analyzing and critiquing the gender roles constructed and reinforced in Shakespeare's plays. Feminist critics have highlighted the ways in which Shakespeare's works reflect and perpetuate the patriarchal society in which they were produced, while also identifying moments of resistance and subversion. Through the lens of feminist criticism, Shakespeare's plays have been examined as both reflections of and challenges to patriarchal norms of his society, speaking to 1600s, from 1564 to 1600s. Shakespeare's plays have also been examined from a feminist perspective in a very special focused point of attention. Phyllis Rekin is a feminist critic. She says, Shakespeare's women are more than just passive objects of male desire. They are active agents who shape their own destinies. This is the one reason that we should highlight the very title called The Timeless Beauty of Shakespeare. Shakespeare's use of imagery, metaphors, and linguistic devices enhance the depth and richness of his characters and themes, and making them open to interpretation and relatable even in the 21st century modern world. One of the most famous examples of Shakespeare's use of imagery is the metaphor of life is but a walking shadow in Macbeth. In Act 5, Scene 5, Macbeth reflects on the transience of life, saying, out, out, brief candle. Life is but a walking shadow. A poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. Friends, this metaphor compares life to a shadow, emphasizing the fleeting and insubstantial value. In Hamlet, for example, the protagonist's famous soliloquy begins with the line, as everyone knows, to be or not to be, that is the question. This line alludes to ancient Greek philosopher Socrates. Socrates belongs to Greece. He is famous for his statement, The unexamined life is not worth living. So Shakespeare's use of this allusion emphasizes the universality of Hamlet's existential crisis and the timeless nature of the human struggle to find a meaning in life. Just as Walt Whitman in American poetry says, to die unknown is a curse. And my focus of attention to share with you turns towards language and style of Shakespeare's writing. Style is man. There goes a quotation. Shakespeare utilizes the tools of language, especially the language of theater, where the harmonious integration of symbols and metaphors play a crucial role. So there must, therefore, be something dramatic about the language of drama. The language of drama must suggest the action which surrounds it. So Shakespeare reflects the human psyche and nature intertwined with the theatrical language, which transcends time, thus acquiring a universal position even when centuries pass by. So Shakespeare is one of the few writers I particularly mean, maybe I am subjective in my comment. Shakespeare is one of the few writers who are able to understand the depths of human mind, then write plays which express human nature by exploring crucial realities of life. His mastery of language and expression play a vital role, very vital role, which words may fail to picture the beauty of that role in creating characters that are not affected by the tides of time and space. So the linguistic tools he uses accurately create the image of his time, but also make his works a literary legacy that is still considered relevant even in 21st century. There is a critic called Crystal. He states that from Shakespeare, we learn how it is possible to explore and exploit the resources of the language in original ways, displaying its range and variety in the service of the poetic imagination. And he also says, Shakespeare shows us how to dare to do things with the language. That's a very underlining point. In a Shakespeare's masterclass, we would observe an object lesson in the bending and breaking of rules. So this complexity that his work carries is due to the literary language he uses, converting his writing into a timeless masterpiece. As a seasoned teacher and a professionally mature teacher, having 35 years of career on my part, I can only say one thing to all the fraternity present on this platform. Only language connects people. The new ideology of this global world and globalized world is only to connect. And nothing ever never connected men and matters like a language does. So I may be allowed to say that William Shakespeare's enduring relevance, that's what I mean to say internally, the timeless beauty of Shakespeare lies in his profound exploration of the human condition. So literary circles across the world consistently return to specific passages that distill his core concerns. Because out of 37 plays written by Shakespeare, people are enthralled to different quotes or excerpts from his plays. Let me also share some of the most intensely analyzed and universally celebrated excerpts from Shakespeare's canon. The word canon, you know very well, speaks that of a legendary performance. See, for example, Man undergoes a lot of feelings, emotions, and nuances of which can be labeled like the burden of consciousness. People often say that casual laborers are working hard, but there are certain people who are working harder, who are unable to carry the load of a thought. That I mean to say, the burden of consciousness here. Shall we turn our attention to highlight the very concept called the burden of consciousness regarding the play called Hamlet? I repeat in the classes by word of mouth. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them. This is Act 3 and Scene 1 from Hamlet. I would like to share the core concern of these lines here. The core concern of this particular celebrity line in the field of English literature across the world is it is a core concern of existentialism, morality, mortality, and the paralyzing nature of thought. This is arguably the most famous soliloquy in Western literature. So critics view it as the ultimate expression of the Renaissance mind, wrestling with the dread of the unknown versus the tangible agony of living. So the quotation encapsulates Shakespeare's fascination with human consciousness and the tragic paralysis that comes from overthinking. Overthinking is one of the most underlined facts for our mental health. Second category I would like you to be witnessed with is the illusion of life and meaning. Sometimes life looks like a myth. What is this life? No time to stand and stare, goes a poem in English literature. So the illusion of life and meaning is well represented by Shakespeare in the play called Macbeth, particularly in Act 5 and Scene 5. Dear fraternity of English language and literature, teaching in institutions, universities, engineering colleges, and degree colleges, as an earnest teacher, I earnestly request you to be proficient to repeat by word of mouth at least 100 quotations of all the literary works you come across in your PG studies or for your studies made for UGC net cracking. So the illusion of life and meaning, even in interviews also, most interview boards and subject experts question our memory retention, whether we could recite any quotation even by legendary writers like Shakespeare. So the English faculty is once again requested to be conscious and cautious of the fact that we should be able to reiterate quotations at least 100 in number to make our classes go enlivened with the memory power of a teacher, much to the yawn and wonder of a student in a real classroom instruction. Tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty phase from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, brief candle. Life is but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets is ever upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sand and fury, signifying nothing. What is this about? Nihilism, the restlessness march of time, and much to your surprise, it is meta theater. Prompted by the death of his wife, Macbeth's speech is a masterclass in despair. Literary scholars frequently analyze its meta-theatrical elements, comparing life to a poor player, that is actor, to highlight Shakespeare's recurring theme that human existence is inherently performative, brief, and perhaps entirely devoid of cosmic meaning. Shall I take you to one another multi-color dream sequence of a cinematic experience, friends? Dear Ravi, shall we go to witness one another except from the Tempest? We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded off with a sleep. This is nothing but the ephemerality of reality. Illusion versus reality, the transient nature of art and life. So, spoken by sorcerer Prospero, these lines are heavily cited in discussions of Shakespeare's later, more philosophical works. And critics often read it as Shakespeare's own farewell to the stage, blurring the lines between the magic of theatre and the fleeting, dreamlike nature of human existence. Much to my satisfaction, I read King Lear for thrice in my life, which speaks cosmic indifference of daughters towards father. And Shakespeare brought home, as flies to wanton boys, are we to the gods. They kill us for their sport. This is in King Lear. What is the core concern of these two lines? Theodicy, cosmic cruelty, and the suffering of the innocent. I tell my daughter always, who is a PhD research scholar in University of Delhi currently, that there is a lot of suffering in the world, and for which, as literary lovers, we should find a panacea, which is a drug for all diseases. So King Lear is frequently viewed as Shakespeare's bleakest tragedy. These lines, spoken by blinded Gloucester, strips away the comforting idea of a benevolent universe. Literary circles highlight this quote to discuss Shakespeare's confrontation with grotesque, meaningless suffering and the frightening prospect of a universe that is either indifferent or actively hostile to humanity. Actively hostile to humanity. And comes my favorite play, Julius Caesar. It is, somebody was asking a question on agency and agent in this prior session. Now I would like to go for agency versus determinism. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves, that we are underlings. This is nothing but fate versus free will, or I can say, for your sake, political agency, and for a common reader, I can say it is ambition. Because Cassius speaks these lines to persuade Brutus to join the conspiracy against Caesar. And many Shakespeare scholars point to this quote as a defining moment in the shift from medieval fatalism to Renaissance humanism, where individuals are the architects of their own political and personal destinies. And one another play that attracted my attention when I was a high school student happens to be The Merchant of Venice. Hath not a Jew eyes? Hath not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions? Fed with the same food, hurt with the same weapons, subject to the same diseases, healed by the same means, warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer, as a Christian he is. If you prick us, don't we bleed? What is this? This speaks the much commented theme called otherness. This speaks empathy. This speaks the psychology of prejudice. So when Shylock's impassioned defense of his own humanity is a focal point for modern literary criticism. While the play continues, profound anti-Semitic elements typical of its era, critics celebrate this specific speech for transcending its time, demanding empathy, and deconstructing the arbitrary social divisions that breed hatred and violence. Whether to love a character or to hate a character, we will be unable to decide when we read Shakespeare's plays. That is what I mean to say, the power of characterization in Shakespeare's writing. When you go to As You Like It, many of the faculty members who are partaking this platform might have read As You Like It, as I did. Very popular lines, so boringly repeated many times by many across the world. But I do repeat here, all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. What is this about? Societal roles, the life cycle, and performativity. So, the 7 ages of man, a monologue spoken by the melancholy Jacques, perfectly captures the concept of theatrum mundi, that is nothing but the world of theater. So, scholars analyze to explore how Shakespeare viewed identity not as a fixed essence, but as a series of socially constructed roles we are forced to perform as a stage. Suppose Dr. Rambhaskar is a professor of English only when he stands on the dais in a classroom, but when he goes to a shop, he becomes a customer, and when he sits in a public transport, he only becomes a passenger, and our contextual values are known like this. But a sub-inspector of police, much to my wonder, always is given to feel that he is a sub-inspector of police even when he goes home or goes to a shop or stands in a queue in a bank. Literature is a reflection of life, and we should all realize what our role is. It is based on the place where we stand. If I go home, I'm a husband to a good lady, I'm a proud father of 2 girls, I am a good son of parents, I'm a loving brother to my siblings, I'm a very good neighbor to my neighbor, something like that. This is called self-realization after reading literature. People, I'm sorry to say that, people who don't have literature background, studying exclusive optional subjects like mathematics, science, and social studies are not that emotional as people who have studied literature. And people who studied literature maintain a wet tongue, whereas I cannot generalize, but I can go to say to the extent of possibility that most tongues which did not read literature are dry tongues, and their language is very cut and dry English, whereas any person who reads little literature may maintain honeyed tongue with rosy lips, much to the attraction of others, which makes relationships go stronger and grow like anything. And I have in my mind 3 more quotes to share with you, and I'm conscious of the time. Don't be worried that I will be eating your lunchtime. And the language and essence, I already told you that language connects people. And I take you to Romeo and Juliet. What's in a name? That which we call a rose, by any other word would smell as sweet. What is this in English language teaching? ELT? ELT is semiotics, language versus reality, and the tragedy of social constructs. Juliet's lament about Romeo's surname is a foundational text for linguistic and literary theorists. It questions whether language creates reality or merely obscures it. Critics note that the central tragedy of the play is driven entirely by names, whether it is Montague or Capulet, meaningless social labels, meaningless social labels that ultimately destroy genuine human connection. If you call a rose by any other name, it would smell as sweet. Oh, Romeo, Romeo, why are you born as Romeo? Look at that east. What is that light? Juliet in the form of sun. Look at the brilliance. There goes a dialogue. What is that language and essence? And the duality of human nature. And out of all Shakespeare's quotation, this is the best ever excerpt. I can give 100 marks to this. What a piece of work is man. How noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in form and moving, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god, the beauty of the world, the paragon of animals, and yet to me, what is this quintessence of dust? Did I take you back to Hamlet, Act 2 and Scene 2? This is nothing but Renaissance humanism versus depression and disillusionment. So this prose passage brilliantly captures the tension between the glorious potential of humanity and the grim reality of our own mortality. Literary circles love this excerpt for its stark psychological realism. It maps the exact coordinates of depression, where one can intellectually recognize the beauty of the world while remaining emotionally entirely divorced from it. See, we are gasping like anything in reiterating the quotes written by Shakespeare. And how about a man who really produced it? And with one last quote, I would like to switch over to another part of my presentation, which actually makes a beginning of the very concept called the timeless beauty of Shakespeare. So the transcendence of love over time. Love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. I took you to Shakespeare's sonnet number 116. Shakespeare's sonnets are 154 in number, and 1 to 126 sonnets are about a handsome man, and from sonnet number 126 to 154 about the dark lady in his life. So, love is not love is nothing but the idealization of love, fidelity, and the destructive power of time. So while Shakespeare frequently wrote about lust, betrayal, and cynical romance, Sonnet 116 significantly stands as his definitive philosophical statement on ideal love. Critics analyze this quotation as an act of poetic defiance, and it is an attempt to use art and conceptual idealism to build a fortress against the physical decay and ruin brought about by the time. Dear friends, time is the biggest enemy of man. If you imagine your real-time enemies in your life, it is that speculation is not right according to my experience of reading literature. And time is the biggest enemy of man, which makes him done or undone things in his life. Now I would like to make a soliloquy of myself. If I go to the other part of my presentation, which actually is a sunshine to the other part of the globe, I feel. Over 400 years ago, a man from Stratford-upon-Avon sat down, dipped his quill into ink, and quietly changed the world. William Shakespeare, the immortal bard, did not merely write words. He captured the beating of the heart of humanity on parchment. Long after the wooden stages of his time faded into history, his stories refused to be forgotten. If a neighbor dies today, these are the days, we forget him the next day. But Shakespeare's writings do refuse to be forgotten. So they have slipped the bonds of time and space, traveling across oceans and centuries to captivate modern audiences just as powerfully as they did the crowds of Elizabeth in England. Dear friends, don't mourn yourself that you are not born in Shakespeare's time to sit in Globe Theatre. Today we can. The secret to this enduring magic lay in his uncanny gaze into the human soul. Because Shakespeare understood us, he was able to wield language like a master illusionist, spinning tales so fiercely innovative that they laid foundation for modern storytelling. Today, his legacy is not confined to the pages of antique books. His influence lives and breathes through the spotlights of modern theater, the sweeping lenses of contemporary film, and the very fabric of the arts, proving that a truly great story never really ends. Take Romeo and Juliet, which represents Maro Charitra in Telugu film industry. Take the Taming of the Shrew, which represents Gundamma Katha. Something like that. So what is now Professor Venkat asked me to talk on the timeless beauty of Shakespeare. I was really musing in myself as to how best I can understand the very phrase called timelessness. Then I remembered a critic called Ben Jonson. I would like to speak about the trap of timelessness. Ben Jonson commented that Shakespeare was not of an age, but for all time. So these words were penned by Ben Jonson, and Jonson was Shakespeare's contemporary, his fiercest rival, his drinking buddy, and a man who understood exactly what he had lost when Shakespeare died. We realize the value of people only when they pass away from this world. It is not the most famous eulogy in literary history. It is a beautiful coinage, and yet it is a trap. Ben Jonson's beautiful tribute has accidentally done Shakespeare a massive disservice for 400 years. When we hear the phrase timeless beauty, what do we imagine? We imagine something pristine. We imagine cold white marble statues. We imagine highbrow art, sealed in vacuum, disconnected from the sweat and the messiness of the real world. That is what we mean by timelessness. We are taught to treat Shakespeare's plays as if they were handed down from the heavens, fully formed, completely untouched by the dirt of reality. Not so. But in literature, true timelessness is not the absence of reality. It is the absolute, unflinching mastery of it. Timeless beauty in a play does not mean it lacks a timestamp. It means the author managed to map the human genome of emotion. What are human genomes of emotion? Love, grief, toxic jealousy, blinding ambition, existential dread. So accurately that the sequence reads perfectly when you are a 16th century blacksmith, a 19th century romantic, or a 21st century student agonizing over a text message. So Shakespeare is not timeless because he ignored his world. He is timeless because he realized that while the trappings of society change, the clothes, the technology, the politics, the human heart does not. This is to be underlined. What is the contrast? Suppose when Venkat asked me to talk about the timeless beauty of Shakespeare, when actually did the time begin to call it timelessness? But to truly understand how Shakespeare became for all time, we have to be something radical. We have to trap him in his own time. We must strip away the velvet curtains, the respectful hushes of modern theaters, and the high school textbook reverence. No, my professor at Harvard University, Stephen Greenblatt, told me in his masterful biography, which is entitled Will in the World, the book reminds us that Shakespeare did not write in a quite isolated academic tower. He wrote in 1590s London, and in 1590s, London was a sensory assault. It was a cacophony of life, death, commerce, and terror. Ravi, my dearest, I want you to imagine you are walking to the Globe Theatre on what is today? Today is suppose today afternoon in 1599. Imagine time back to that. So if you imagine yourself walking to the Globe Theatre, you will be confronted and you will spectacle and you will speculate certain nuances which I am going to describe now. The smell is the greatest things, and no smell is the best smell, as no news is good news. You are crossing the river Thames in London. It is not a romantic waterway. It is the city's open sewer. The stench of human waste, the runoff from the Smithfield slaughterhouses, the rotting garbage, and the smoke of coal fires is an inescapable physical weight in the air, I can say. What is the violence? When you walk across London Bridge, as you look up, you don't see beautiful architecture. You see the severed, tar-dipped heads of traitors displayed on iron spikes. The birds are picking at them. This is not a metaphor. This is your daily commute. It is a visceral, brutal reminder of that state's power, the Queen's spy network, and the terrifying political paranoia of an aging monarch's reign. And of course, our Ravi will also witness the entertainment. You finally arrive at the Globe Theatre, but you are not in a cultured arts district. The Globe Theatre was built in the Liberties, the red light district, outside the jurisdiction of the city Puritans. It was surrounded by brothels, taverns, and bear-biting pits. Imagine the sheer chaos right next door to where Hamlet is agonizing over the nature of human soul. An audience of hundreds is screaming, betting money to watch a pack of starved dogs tear a chained bear to pieces. So the roar of the dying bear would literally bleed through the wooden walls of the globe while an actor tried to deliver a soliloquy. What exactly is the outside world of the Globe Theatre? What exactly is the inside world of the Globe Theatre? You will definitely have to extract entertainment being a spectator. So the terror and hanging over every single breath taken in that city was the shadow of bubonic plague. It was an invisible random killer. You could wake up feeling fine and be dead, your skin turning black by midnight. That is plague. It periodically forced the theaters to close, wiping out lives and livelihoods overnight. Death was not a philosophical concept to the Elizabethans. It was the next door neighbor. So now, in such background, dear friends, how could Shakespeare bring the alchemy of genius? So we are left with a massive, beautiful contradiction. The fundamental question I would like to pose on this platform is this. It is not just my question, it is also your question, I presume. How did a playwright, writing on a frantic deadline, trying to entertain a loud, unwashed, demanding crowd in a dirty, hyper-violent, plague-ridden city, managed to write the most transcendental poetry the English language has ever seen? How do you get King Lear out of the mud of the Thames? He did it. Who did it? Shakespeare did it. He did it through a kind of literary alchemy. My professor at Harvard, Greenblatt, argues that Shakespeare's ultimate genius was his permeability. He did not turn away from the blood, the political anxiety, or the plague. He did not try to write about his audience. He absorbed the world like a sponge and wrung it out onto the stage. So when his characters speak of death, they are not speaking theoretically. They are speaking with the breath of the plague on their necks. So when Macbeth murders his king, the audience watching it knows exactly what the severe head of a traitor looks like on a spike. He took the precarious, terrifying, electric reality of the Elizabethan London and he translated it into universal human truths. So he survived his own era precisely because he was so deeply, undeniably rooted in the filth and glory of it. Friends, when we watch Shakespeare's play today, we don't look at the stage and see ourselves in their doublets and corsets. We look at the stage and we hear pounding of our own hearts. We see our own fractured minds. We see the timeless beauty of the human condition, perfectly preserved in the mud of 1590s London. And I would like to extol Shakespeare because I told you in the beginning that all enemies of Shakespeare are my enemies. There is a staunch reason on my part to safeguard my comment. He is the architect of language. He has created more than 1700 words to suit to his descriptions of characters. See, the word inventor and the linguistic Big Bang is a caption attributed to William Shakespeare. So we have to remember that in the 1590s, the English language was not the global powerhouse as it is today. It was considered a rough, uncultured peasant's tongue. If you wanted to write something important, philosophical, or permanent, you wrote in Latin or French, not in English. There was no Oxford English dictionary. There were no standardized spelling rules. And Shakespeare, writing at the speed of light to keep his theater company from going bankrupt, kept hitting dead ends. He would look for a word to describe the exact agonizing nuance of what a character was feeling. And he would realize that the word simply did not exist. So he did it, what any genius does when faced with a limitation. He shattered it. He built his own code. He initiated a linguistic Big Bang. Most people don't know that. Lonely is a word which we are using today, but it is invented by William Shakespeare. Somebody should break the ice. We are using that idiom. It is invented by Shakespeare. He has given himself to an activity called naming the unnamed. Shakespeare is credited with coining or first recording over 1700 new words, I repeat. He did not just use English, he just engineered English. But it is not just that he made up words, it is what he was naming. So before Shakespeare, I repeat, there was no word called lonely. There was no word called assassination. There was no word called eyeball. Or there was no word called jaded, or swagger, or bedazzled, or wild goose chase. What is this idiom? In Somerset Maugham's The Ant and the Grasshopper short story, one of the two brothers says, to know about him is a wild goose chase. That means it is a useless activity out of which you can't get anything. Hot on your sleeve, good riddance, bated breath are all the idioms found by William Shakespeare alone. When people say Shakespeare is too hard to understand, they are missing the greatest, most awe-inspiring irony of all. You are already fluent in him. His linguistic DNA, if anybody belongs to science faculty in the platform, his linguistic DNA is in your text messages, your emails, your arguments, and your love letters. He literally gave us the words to articulate our own humanity. And I can say, speaking about the language and style of Shakespeare's English, it is an MRI of the soul. You know, MRI scanning machine, you know it very well. And an MRI of the soul and the rhythm of your heartbeat, I can say. But even if we use his words, people are still terrified by the way he put them together. If see, when we return to his poetry, we hear the phrase iambic pentameter, and our eyes glaze over. It sounds like a maths question and equation. It sounds like a rigid, dead academic rule. Don't you really understand? Take iambic pentameter as a normal course of vocabulary which you happen to use every day in your routine life. You won't take it so. I want to prove you right now that it is the exact opposite. I want everyone in this conference to take your right hand and place it flat against your chest, right over your heart. Indulge me, feel it. Da dum, da dum, da dum, an unaccented beat followed by an accented beat. You know, but soft what light through yonder window breaks. Shakespeare did not write iambic pentameter to be fancy. Just as E is equal to MC square is a quotation found by Albert Einstein, he did not invent it for IIT entrance examination or EBSET entrance examination. E is equal to MC square is a physics formula invented by Einstein, Albert Einstein, only while telling the universal truths on this good earth and its bounty. A plus B whole square is not invented for MSET examination. So is iambic pentameter invented by Shakespeare in order to tell you the naked truth of this world, which is but a secret unless and until you come to know it. It is iambic pentameter is nothing but your heartbeat, the of a broken heart. So, and then Shakespeare characters experience a trauma, a sudden realization, or a moment of sheer terror. Shakespeare intentionally breaks the meter. He removes syllables. He reverses the heartbeat. He forces the actor to literally gasp for air, as I just do now. I have been speaking for the past 1 hour. And the poetry acts as a psychological MRI. We don't just hear the character is panicking through the broken rhythm of the words. Shakespeare forces the actor's lungs and heart to physically panic on the stage. It is absolute physiological mastery, I can say. No, for example, I can tell you, there is beauty in the insult we experience every day. And all English scolding words are so beautiful. I can say idiot, rascal, scoundrel, rogue are beautiful words. Why? If you peep into meanings of those good words, you will really understand how insensible and how senseless you are when you are scolded by others. When you are practically senseless and insensible, you are being scolded with such phrases invented by great linguists like Shakespeare. No. Now, having said all about the majesty of the human heartbeat, I don't want you to leave here thinking Shakespeare was a delicate saint. He is the architecture of a pan. Thou art a boil, a plague sore, and embossed carbuncle in my corrupted blood. Listen to the violence of these sounds. Boil, plague, carbuncle, blood. It is acoustic warfare, I can say. An actor delivering that line is physically striking their opponent with consonants. When you teach vowels and consonants in your real-time classroom instruction, please repeat a line from Shakespeare's iambic pentameter. Listen to the violence of those sounds. He wrote with a pen of an angel and the mouth of a sailor. Now I am gracefully talking about the good words he wrote about. And that is why he is the ultimate architect of language. He understood that to speak for all humanity, you can't just live in the clouds with the philosophers. You have to be waiting, you have to be willing to roll in the mud. He built a linguistic cathedral so vast that it has a room for the most transcendent questions about the human soul and the absolute best yo mama jokes of the 16th century, all under one roof. Now, besides being an extraordinary architect of language, he is the master of human nature. I gave in one of the PG examination question papers a very interesting question taking inspiration from the iambic pentameter developed by Shakespeare's poetry. Tempest is a rare blend of magic and music. Discuss is a question. See, we have talked about the mud, we have talked about the language, but now we arrive at the core of it all. Why do we care? Why do those plays survive when thousands of others from the same decade have been completely forgotten? Why only Shakespeare's plays are alive on our minds, hearts, brains, and all other our DNA? I'm going to tell you a secret that sometimes gets glossed over a high school English classes. We are often taught to look at Shakespeare's protagonists as role models, as great noble heroes who have just made one little mistake. Aparipurnate andam. Sometimes incomplete sentences in English speak more than sentences with complete sense. Immaturity is striking it sometimes. Think about the people he put on the stage. All heroes have a flaw in them. He did not just write about a sad prince in Hamlet. He wrote the ultimate portrait of a clinical anxiety and the paralyzing and destructive loop of overthinking. That's definitely a negative point in a character. In Macbeth, he did not just write about a greedy king. He wrote a masterpiece about imposter syndrome, toxic ambition, and the exact moment a person decides to cross a moral line, they can never come back from. And in Othello, he did not write a standard villain and victim story. He showed us how the devastating, quite insecurity of being an outsider can be manipulated into a binding, murderous jealousy. So, friends, Shakespeare's ultimate surprise is that his monsters are not hiding under the bed, they are hiding in the mirror. So, the complexity of love, how can you expect blood from a rock? You can. The same complexity of love shorter in the fairy tale is only possible for Shakespeare's quill, the myth of Romeo and Juliet. And it was not just the dark stuff. He also completely revolutionized how we view love. Does anyone really know what love is and what is not? If somebody really loves us, we cannot withstand it. But we always complain that we are not getting true love from others. But once you get true love from others, you can't withstand it. So let us do a quick poll. When I say the greatest love story ever told, what do you say? Romeo and Juliet. So what is the first Shakespeare play that pops into your head? Romeo and Juliet, right? Or Hamlet. We put it on Valentine's Day cards. Now all shops names, all companies names, all brands, corporate brand names are just from the etymological origins of the English language and literature in the world. When somebody hangs a board, Law Bell Fitness Studio, we should understand that La Belle Dame Sans Merci is a poem written by a celebrity poet called Keats, a beautiful lady without mercy. So when some fitness studio says that La Belle, that means your waists become so slender like lilies if you come to this studio. And I can also hang, taking liberty to make a Telugu comment, Muddabantulla Randi, Sannajazulla Vellandi is the caption of a fitness studio. So before you actually read the play, Shakespeare is not giving us a fairy tale. He's giving us a warning. Romeo and Juliet is not a mature romance. It is a 3-day sleep-deprived teenage chemical meltdown that results in 6 deaths. Shakespeare knew exactly what he was doing. He captured the fiery, volatile, irrational infatuation of youth perfectly, but he did not pretend it was sustainable. Friends, the universality of emotion, the empathy machine. What is it? William Shakespeare. Madam, I am left with I think some 8 minutes. Do I sound correctly, madam? So the universality of emotion, the empathy of a machine. What I can say, 400 years ago, in a dirty, prejudiced city, a playwright called Shakespeare wrote words. He hath disgraced me, laughed at my losses, mocked at my gains, scorned my nation, thwarted my bargains, cooled my friends, heated my enemies. And what is his reason? I am a Jew. This is Shylock's statement in The Merchant of Venice. So that is what surprise waiting for you in Shakespeare. He doesn't just know how you speak. He knows how you bleed. He knows how you love. And that is why he will never ever be a thing of the past. What does Keats writes in Endymion? The thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness ever increases. It never passes into nothingness. I apply that Endymion poem to the timeless beauty of Shakespeare here. So in short, his writing is not just an art, it is a tool for human survival. So friends, the script as a blueprint and the genius of the empty space, what I am talking now. If you open a modern script by brilliant playwrights like Arthur Miller, Eugene O'Neill, or Tennessee Williams, you will find pages of incredibly specific dictatorial stage directions. And the author tells you exactly what the wallpaper looks like, what the lighting is doing, and exactly how many seconds an actor should pause before picking up their coffee cup. The modern author is trying to control the world. Shakespeare does absolutely none of what today's dramatists are doing. I include Arthur Miller, Eugene O'Neill, and Tennessee Williams, for example. So if you look at a Shakespearean script, his stage directions are hilariously minimal. He gives you things like enter Hamlet, they fight, are the most famous direction of history, like that. So friends, now I would like to go for a conclusion. The blank slate is still open for me to comment endlessly for hours on end actually. So the emergency broadcast system. Have you seen The Lion King? You watched Hamlet with lions. Have you seen the 1916 comedy 10 Things I Hate About You? You watched The Taming of the Shrew. Have you watched HBO's channel Succession? You are watching the exact structural DNA of King Lear. You too can perform a midnight summer's dream in traditional 16th century old dress. It's beautiful. So the political litmus test is not away from my comments today, because nowhere is this more obvious than with his political plays. If you go to, sorry for taking a minute, we have seen Richard III as a fascist dictator. ఒక రాజును గెలిపించుటలో ఒరిగిన నరకంఠాలెన్నో గాయపడిన కవి గుండెలలో రాయబడని కావ్యాలెన్నో. Dasharathi writes about, see, ఒక రాజును గెలిపించుటలో ఒరిగిన నరకంఠాలెన్నో. Doesn't it happen even today in politics when we are remembering Richard III? The dog barking scene is one of the most popular plays. I'm afraid time constraint is pushing me to wind up this presentation literally by 1 o'clock, and I'm left with 4 more minutes. So key contributions of William Shakespeare to make the timeless beauty of Shakespeare include exploration of human nature is first point, because Shakespeare's work delve into universal themes like love, power, mortality, and identity. Second is innovative storytelling. because his use of dramatic structure, character development, and language has influenced literary traditions. And third is shaping language. Shakespeare's impact on the English language is evident in idioms, phrases, and vocabulary. And fourth is cultural heritage. His works have become an integral part of our cultural heritage, reflecting shared human experiences. And influence on modern arts, film and theater are there. His works have influenced romanticism, modernism, and post-colonial literature. And his artistic inspiration, countless authors, playwrights, and artists have drawn inspiration from his timeless themes and character. Friends, with all these astonishing influences that have penetrated each aspect of modern life, my presentation argues that from his place, the general understanding inferred asserts that modern life is with the geoparadising influence caused by the digital age, which continues to need our lives in different ways at the individual and collectiveness. In addition to this, Shakespeare's excellence to integrate complex social themes into his writings through the art of language makes him a literary genius and a figure that is applauded in the world of literature. The April is the month, not when it is hot in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana and India. I celebrate April as the month when and where Shakespeare is born and departed from this world. Long live Shakespeare. May your tribe increase. God bless you, Shakespeare. And I thank all the organizers of this 3-day international conference platform for having given me this wonderful opportunity to make a discourse on Shakespeare's timeless beauty of his works. Perhaps I thought I'm talking to myself for over 1.5 hours by now. Thank you so much. I appreciate your attention, patience, and time in lending your good ears to me and to my presentation. Thank you so much. Over to organizers and Professor Venkat Satish.
Thank you very much, sir. If any queries, please ask, sir.
No queries, madam. So,
It is very crystal
first of
clear.
all, yes, madam. So, I am Dr. C.V.S. Ravindranath from Dr. V.S. Krishna Government Degree College, Visakhapatnam. First of all, I'm truly bound over by Dr. E. Rambhaskar Raju Garu's prolific profile. It has been almost 15 years since I first met him in Hyderabad for Enadu workshop. And your reflective and insightful talk on the Shakespeare's works is delivered in exceptional and engaging and enthralling manner. And your comparison of Romeo Juliet with Maro Charitra and the taming of the shrew with Gundamakada is both amusing and apt. Thank you, sir. So we wish some more time, but unfortunately, so we cannot get the full presentation of yours. Thank you so much for the organizers for arranging such a wonderful session. Thank you all.
Love you, Ravi, as ever, for the past 16 years.
Yes,
Good
sir.
afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Ramaraju, sir.
Is
You
it
told
Vijayalakshmi?
very well, sir.
Madam.
You last likes you, sir. Thank you for giving this wonderful opportunity, sir, to listen Shakespeare's tragedies or Shakespeare's about Shakespeare, sir. Thank you, Satya madam, Satyasri madam. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Ramya
Thank
from
you, Vijaya
Security
madam.
Government Degree College, Rajahmundry. So I extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Rambhaskar Raju for this enlightening lecture the timeless beauty of Shakespeare. Your engaging exploration of Hamlet, Julius Caesar, Romeo Juliet, and the Merchant of Venice, and so on, truly brought Shakespeare's genius to life. The way of unpacked famous quotations and connected them to deeper philosophical and psychological insights made the session both intellectual stimulating and accessible. What stood out most was your ability to reveal how Shakespeare's characters are not confined to their time but continue to reflect our own emotions, dilemmas, and moral struggles. Your perspective and analysis helped us understand the complexity of characters like Hamlet, the political tensions of Julius Caesar, and human depth in The Merchant of Venice with renewed clarity. Your lecture beautifully justified the idea of Shakespeare's timeless beauty, showing that his works remain relevant because they speak directly to the human conditions across ages. Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable insights and inspiring us to read Shakespeare with deeper appreciation and critical understanding. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, madam. I remember my beloved mother who passed away 25 years ago on this occasion. She only taught me one lesson in life: speak at least not to be misunderstood. This was the line she taught me all through life. Hope I am not misunderstood and hope I have delivered goods to the high water mark of satisfaction to all the participants whose presence is witnessed here. Thank you so much for the generous praise for this average presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the insightful session,
Thank
Dr.
you,
Raju
Dr.
garu,
Raju, sir.
regarding the beauty you mentioned. I am Professor Rosham Prakash Potuguchi from Amravati, Maharashtra.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I just want to ask one question.
Please, sir.
Shakespeare's works are often described as universal. In your view, what specific element of his character construction allows his plays to be adapted so seamlessly into diverse cultural context, from Indian cinema to Japanese theater?
Sir, I have a ready answer here, sir. Suppose let us spectacle or speculate a fact that Shakespeare has created 100 characters among 37 plays.
Yes, sir.
Those characters are deemed to be fictional and fictitious. But
Yes.
in the modern world, even today, we are easily able to identify each one of those characters literally in the people we are encountering with, we are associating with, we are reading about in newspapers, we are reading
Yes.
on, we are witnessing on YouTubes, we are witnessing in news channels. There are many Romeo and Juliets, there are many Hamlets, there are many Shylocks, there are many Desdemonas, there are many Beatrices, there are many Antonios, like that. So when we happen to see those fictional characters in flesh and blood form today in the very world we are living in, this exactly is the organic element of Shakespeare developed by him, made him go timeless, and even Japanese adaptations or English adaptations, even for Telugu adaptations, even for Maharashtrian adaptations like Comedy of Errors is like Ulta Pulta, which is made a cinematic adaptation. So, Professor Sir, when we are able to witness characters in flesh and blood in this world, is the real element that made his characters go above and beyond and crossing the limits of time, going to horizon ends. This is my understanding, sir.
Yes, sir. As in Maharashtra, Viva Shirvadkar has transcreated most of the plays of Shakespeare.
Yes.
And yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor, for being with us.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sir, could you please repeat the song, sir? ఒక రాజుని గెలిపించుటలో ఒరిగిన నరకంటాల సార్ నరకంటాలెన్నో గాయపడిన
ఒక రాజును గెలిపించుటలో ఒరిగిన నరకంఠాలెన్నో
గాయపడిన కవి గుండెలలో రాలిన భావాలెన్నోనా?
గాయపడిన కవి గుండెలలో రాయబడని కావ్యాలెన్నో. Now I can take you to heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter, says one poet, John Keats. విన్న సంగీతం బాగుంది, వినని సంగీతం ఇంకెంత బాగుంటుందో. రాసిన కావ్యాలన్నీ చాలా బాగున్నాయి, ఆయన రాయని కావ్యాలు ఇంకెంత బాగుండేదో అన్న మీనింగ్ని ఇక్కడ చెప్పాను.
ఓకే సార్, ఓకే సార్, వెల్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్డ్.
ప్రొఫెసర్ వెంకట్ సతీష్.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir.
Hello. This is Dr. Anban from Salem, Tamil Nadu.
Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Congratulations to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for illuminating the infinite variety of Shakespeare. Thank you, sir.
I'm blessed I am, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
I hope we don't have any other queries. Sir, shall we wind up?
Sure, madam.
Shall we wind up the session?
It is 1:10.
On behalf of SKVT Government Degree College and the organizing committee, Venkat's time and all, we are really very thankful to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Long live Shakespeare. Long live English teaching talent. Thank you so much. Wishing you a brighter afternoon. I sign off from this presentation with your permission. Thank you so much.
Okay, sir. And tomorrow we will meet at really right time at 10 o'clock. Thank you so much. Bye, sir. Ravindra, sir. Bye.
Madam, one
Vijayalakshmi, madam.
submission,
Govind
so
Raju,
please.
sir. Sir.
Thank you.
Madam, Suvarna,
Sir,
madam.
please.
So I already told you about my presentation. So I have to be in Andhra University by 2:30. So please consider my request. Thank you, madam.
Yes. Lalita, madam. Govind Raju, sir. Sheikh. Dr. Sheikh. Thank you so much, all of you.